Buckle up for a wildly entertaining and deeply transformative ride with Rants and Galavants with your host, Ellie Shoja. Hello and welcome to Rants and Galavants. I'm Ellie and I have with me a very special guest today. I have Angelina Sol, who is an author. She is just this creative, beautiful goddess, and I'm so excited for our conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Very cool. So today is a very special day. Today is the last day of the energetic year. Tomorrow, spring begins, the energetic new year starts, and I'm Iranian. It's also my Persian New Year. In Iran, our calendar is actually based on the Sumerian calendar. It's the first calendar ever created. The traditions that we have are Zoroastrians, which date back all the way to Sumerian times. These are some of the first ever traditions on the planet, in the civilized world. These date back thousands of years. And we're very intentional in those first 12 days. We visit people that we love. We try to show up with compassion, with love, with that fire, motivation, and excitement about life. So we're very intentional. We're celebrating every single day because the first 12 days of the year will shape the rest of the year. And if you know about 12 days of Aries, that's exactly what 12 days of Aries will say, that the first 12 days of Aries will shape the coming 12 months. So every day is associated with the season. Our rant today is all about releasing the old and resetting so you can renew for the future. So we release, we reset, and we renew. I love that. Yes, let's renew. Yes. So I have a question for you, Angelina.
Okay.
I'm going to put you on the spot. What are you letting go of this year? What are you releasing?
I am releasing excuses and self-negativity. I'm high pressured and I put a lot of pressure on myself. And sometimes it's better just to be nicer to yourself. I worked with a woman once and we were working through a project and I realized I was very gentle and loving with her. And I thought, why am I not that way with myself?
What's your inner voice like?
My inner voice isn't critical necessarily. It's more of a feeling like, oh, I should have done that. And oh, I should have done more. And why was I tired? Or why was I not more aggressive in XYZ project? You know what? I'm going to just be more loving today, loving to myself. And whatever yesterday was, it was. And that's okay. That's not really, that has not been my personality. I like to get things done.
Yeah,
And we all do, but we can be kinder about it.
I really love this. And I want to issue this challenge for you at home. You're watching this. What are you releasing this year? And by the way, did any of that sound familiar to you? Is that something that you're doing? I know I definitely have these ridiculous expectations of myself. And then when I don't meet those expectations, I am very critical and very hard on myself. And that can be, it actually perpetuates the situation instead of, okay, you didn't do this. Okay, move on to the next thing and let's just move on from it. Now you're stuck in that energy of whatever it is, self-criticism, feeling like you failed, and then you perpetuate more and more of that. That's a great thing to let go of. I'm going to let go of, I think, unrealistic expectations. I think we all have a version of that.
Absolutely. I have one with time where I think
Yeah.
something should take 2 hours and it really is going to take 6. That's my favorite expectation that I never meet. I want to be more realistic about that too.
Yeah, they always say, they're like, with construction, they say this. If someone quotes you, whatever time they quote, it's going to take 3 times longer, 3 times as much. And I find with creative stuff, it's the same thing. You think it's going to take you an hour, it takes you 3. That's absolutely true. I have a friend who often talks about the importance of finding your own relationship with your timing. What is your timing? Forget about time expectations, what is on time, what's not, whatever, but what is your timing? What feels natural for you? When does your body naturally relax and want to go into sleep at night? When does it naturally want to wake up? What is your natural rhythm with time throughout the day? And then also with events. Are you the person who shows up 5 minutes early to everything? Are you the person who shows up half an hour later? Do you feel anxiety around time? It's nice to pay attention to your personal natural rhythms and then start honoring that.
And I think that's the hardest thing is we all have schedules in society and expectations.
Yeah.
How do you honor that and not disappoint the people or the other things that need to get done
Yeah.
in your life? And I think you, Ellie, are very high achiever. You're very modest, but you've done some pretty spectacular things. And I think also when you're a high achiever, you have these higher standards that are hard to meet because you're not comparing yourself to other people, but to what you can do.
So I think we've given you a few different things from examples from us of things that we want to release. I want to give you this analogy that when I found out about it, it blew my mind. The thing is that we always try to start new things. We're always looking for an excuse, for a reason to renew ourselves, right? It's Monday. I'm going to start doing this, right? I'm going to start going to the gym. It's first of the year. I'm going to lose a bunch of weight. I'm going to sit down and write every single day. It's the first of the month. So we're always looking for reasons and excuses to set ourselves up for something new, to show up in a new way. But the trouble is that a lot of times the new thing we're trying to introduce into our lives doesn't stick. And the reason it doesn't stick is because we're still funneling energy towards something else that is interfering with that new thing that we want. I want to get up and go to the gym every day, but I'm still funneling energy to the thoughts, to the internal habits that say, oh, yeah, you're never going to be able to do X, Y, and Z, or you're never going to look like that, or you're lazy, or like all of these stories, all of these things that are not serving me. I'm still funneling energy to them, and then they get in the way of me developing this new thing. Here's what I learned about trees that you can apply to your life. Trees are intelligent. Trees are intelligent. This is what trees do. When the season is shifting into winter, the tree will actually start to cut off nourishment and nutrients to the leaves because it knows once winter arrives and there is snow and there's wind and there's all this weather, the leaves are going to be harmful to the tree. That snow piles up on the leaves, it can break the tree. It can break its branches. So what does the tree do? It literally systematically shuts off nourishment to the leaf. It just starts to cut around that connection between the leaf and the branch. It starts to cut millimeters off until there's just a tiny bit connected, and then that gets severed, and then the leaf falls off. But that's also why the leaves turn yellow and all sorts of beautiful colors. The tree is killing its leaf. It's literally killing its leaves.
It is amazing.
So it's withdrawing nourishment from the part of itself that is not serving it. And we can do that. We can literally withdraw energy from the thing that is not serving us. Yeah.
And
Fascinating.
you said it cuts off the energy. And
Yeah.
I've seen in so many books where people say, what is the Latin root of decision? And it means to cut off from, making a decision to cut off from.
Wow.
And it's the same process, it's the same thing, but you can see it in the trees.
This episode is about renewal with the coming of spring. It's the solstice tonight. So we want to be really intentional about what we're bringing into our lives, but you cannot renew without cutting off the things that are going to be in the way of your renewal. So really important thing to really think about. And let's woo it up for just a moment on a woo level. So all I mean by that is when you zoom back all the way back out of your physical experience of this moment, when you zoom back, we are all energy just coming here for a temporary amount of time in occupying these physical forms. And guess what happened after you are no longer in this physical body? You return to be energy. And what do we do as non-physical beings? We've devised a perfect plan. We withdraw energy from the body, it goes old and it dies. And then we reemerge in the non-physical and we are there, and then we take on a whole new body for a period of time and then withdraw our energy from it, and it gets Alzheimer's and it dies. And then we go somewhere else. It really, at the end of the day, doesn't matter how you live your life in this physical life. It really doesn't matter whether it's a joyful life or it's a miserable life. If you're in a lot of pain, it doesn't matter because it'll be over like that. And then you'll be non-physical and you'll be happy and go lucky again. Wouldn't you rather have a better experience while you're here? I know I would. And now, as we enter our gallivanting portion of today's episode, I was talking to Angelina a little earlier, and she has a very cool gallivant story that really speaks to that renewal. Because when you travel, when you gallivant around the world, when you really experience new things and open yourself up to new opportunities to see the world in a different way, some really magical things happen internally for us, right? So we mix up all of this external stuff, which then eliminates the things that we hold on to as part of our identity, and our identity melts away. And then some really magical things start to happen inside of us. And I think your story of Spain illustrates this. What happened in Spain?
I wanted to perfect my Spanish, and I got my degree, and I couldn't speak. I could speak a little bit, but I was definitely nowhere near fluent. And I thought, I know, I'll go to Spain where there won't be that many Americans. Because they're not helping me learn the language anymore. I end up living there, and I'm a few months away from coming back to the United States. I'm walking along the sidewalk, and there are hundreds of people walking because there it's more important to spend time with friends and family than it is to sit in front of a TV. So it was a completely different lifestyle from what I'd grown up with, from what I'd seen in different places. It was really important to spend time with people, and you would do that in the evenings. So you get home from work and you rest a little bit, but then you go out and you walk, and especially in the summertime. And then dinner's at 10 o'clock, and it's just a completely, and then you go out after dinner until one. It's like, how do these people keep their jobs? We're out until 12 o'clock at night. But I realized I had planned out my life to go to school, finish, get a job, and just follow what everyone else was doing because that's what I thought I should do. But when I was in that moment of just looking at what's really most important and what's my dream, I wanted to go into music. And that's when I gave myself the idea, the permission to have the idea that I am going to pursue this when I get back to the United States. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I just had this moment with one of my European friends, but to live out your dream. And I had no intention of trying to make that happen. Just being able to see people live life in a different way. The line is always, Americans live to work, but we work to live. And I thought I need a little bit more of that going forward in my new grown-up life. Yeah.
To give yourself permission to have the idea, like the audacity of wanting the thing that you want. That's really powerful. That is so powerful to give yourself permission. So that brings up a question for me. And for everybody listening to this, watching this, what are you not giving yourself permission to do? And Angelina, is there something you are not giving yourself permission to do now?
Not anything that I haven't done before. So, yes, I'd like to dance, I'd like to sing, but it's not something I haven't done before. I took a lot of risks. I was dancing flamenco in front of people publicly. That's not something I felt like a teenager who has a recital as a child, where your parents come, but I'm doing this as an adult. It just was such a great feeling. It's just a freeing feeling, and all of us are grown-ups and adults and people who have kids and grown children, but performing flamenco in front of an audience. And that's not exactly my first natural dance form in any kind of way, but yeah.
Lessons?
I was taking lessons, but then there was a group of us who were a little bit more intermediate advanced, and my teacher wanted to start performing and having people pay. Yeah, I'll do that, and I'll sing in Spanish and sing flamenco songs. And I wasn't comfortable, but wow, what a reward. And I think that's been my experience, doing things that are uncomfortable, not usual, but wow, the reward in being able to do it and execute it.
How long were you living there?
In Spain, only a couple of years.
Did you get fluent in Spanish?
Yes, at that time I was fluent. I was speaking in English and Spanish at the same time. I had to tell myself, okay,
Just go back
think in
and
English now. Think in English. Go back. But yeah, that's a great place to be when you can think in another language.
What do you think is the connection between travel and renewing yourself?
You get to see things from a different perspective. It just gives you a new outlook on life, how you're living your life, how other people live their lives, and what they see as important. It's so eye-opening. I went to Cuba and I realized most of the people there were under a pressure as if someone had their foot on top of their heads, but they still went on and they were still happy and they never allowed depression to come into their lives. And I thought, gosh, the depression I've had, my depression was a joke. And not to lessen the impact of depression. It's very painful. I'm not trying to diminish that for anyone, but this position of, wow, they didn't have the luxury of being able to be depressed because they had to pay attention and be present in every part of their lives in order to survive, in order to get through difficult times and difficult days. And I realized I had given myself luxurious opportunities to fall into a depression and not get myself out of it. But that was eye-opening, and that would not have happened, that understanding, without having traveled.
Yeah. So in my Oracle deck, Your Heart Knows the Way, there's a card that says fear is a luxury. And the premise of that card is that we have the luxury of being afraid when there isn't a real threat. Because when you are, let's say, stranded in the desert, you can't be paralyzed by fear. You have to jump into action. You have to survive. You have to start thinking strategically and taking action. You have to become very present. And when you are really present in this moment, fear does not exist. unless it's a lion, right?
We have fake lions, right? In our minds. We
Yeah.
hate those lions.
We create those fake lions, and that is the luxury. Like, we have the luxury of you're taken care of physically. You know where your food is coming from. You have your shelter. You're warm. So now I have the luxury to create a lion in my mind and be afraid of it. Or now I have the luxury to be paralyzed. That is, we don't want to diminish someone's experience because it is very painful when you are there. And I spent a lot of my years in that place, imagining ways of taking my own life and feeling an extreme pain internally. And then when you realize, though, that the responsibility that you have, it's almost like every thought that I am thinking, I am choosing. And when you realize that the suffering I'm creating for myself, I am creating with my thoughts and with my mind and with my imagination, I'm so free and so powerful that I can literally create suffering for myself in a moment when I am absolutely free. When you realize that there's such incredible power in it, there's such incredible power in knowing that you are the thinker of your thoughts and you are in charge of your reality.
And that you can think something else,
You can
and that
think
you can
something else.
create something else, and that there is no real lion. But the thing is,
Yeah.
even if there were a real lion, just like you said, you don't have time to think about it. I feel
Yeah.
like
You just act, fight or flight. That's
yeah, because there isn't that time. When you're
Right.
really in a situation that's frightening, you act because there really isn't the time to luxuriate in being afraid.
Yeah. To think about all the possible outcomes and if you're prepared for them, you're running. You're running. You're taking action in the moment. When you think about it, even in that moment, like, depression is interesting because there's such helplessness in it. We're so helpless in that moment. And I think there's also self-denial in it. There's self-rejection in it. And what happens when in those moments you don't deny who you are and you recognize your own greatness and perfection? You may not go from depression to joy, but you may go from depression to anger. And that's so much better, right? There's movement and energy in anger where there's a lack of it in depression. So from anger, you can go to frustration. From frustration, you can go to something else. And you can move up gradually just by working with yourself instead of against yourself. And I think this brings us back to that idea of releasing, like pulling back your energy from the thoughts, the thought patterns that are creating the helplessness. So it's, if a part of you is saying, oh, I'm a piece of shit, I will never be able to do X, Y, and Z, what if you did not think that? And what if instead you observe that and say, oh, that's interesting. I would say that about myself. I wonder where I picked that up from. I wonder whose voice that is, because I would never say that about somebody else. And I wonder what happens if I just don't agree with it anymore. Yeah, what happens if you don't agree with the things that are creating suffering for you anymore? And be like, oh, okay, that's a thought. There's also another thought that says, I'm pretty awesome.
Right.
Yeah. Take the next couple of minutes and just think about those moments in your life when you were able to become so present in the moment that you gained a moment of clarity, and maybe even recreate one of those moments right now. Come into the present moment in your body, feel what your body feels like, see what your thoughts look like, just observe them and come into the present moment, because this is where your power is. This is where the clarity is. This is where the connection with yourself is. So just take a couple minutes and be in that space. So remember, we were just talking about observing your thoughts, processing them, not being the thought that is thinking you, but being the person who's thinking the thoughts and not agreeing with it. Maybe you want to break your agreement with that thought. That is okay. All of that stuff you can do while writing your book. So, Angelina,
Yeah.
tell me about your process of writing this wonderful book over here, The Moments to Seize.
It was during the pandemic,
Yes.
and I was living in Atlanta at the time and missing Los Angeles. And I decided, what if I put myself back
Mm.
in LA? And I used a pen name because I wanted to be able to write without censoring myself. I wanted to be able to put in everything that was potentially harmful to me in the past and look at it head on. And one of the things that I experienced was that I had distanced myself from painful moments and they weren't as painful anymore. I could look at it as this outside story that I wasn't holding on to like maybe I thought I had been. So it was very healing for me to write and to also just create a new story, create a new path, a path that was different than the one I had taken when I was living here the first time around. So it was a really amazing experience. When I started writing it, my character was an industrial and organizational psychologist. I thought, if I were 20 something again and going back to school, maybe I would go that route. By the time I finished my book and I was rereading it, I had gotten a master's degree in industrial and organizational psychology. I had no intention of going back to school ever again. It just happened. It was a coincidence. It was not in my plan. No, through the series of events, I'm like, oh my God, I went back to school for
You know
this
what?
very degree.
You know what's fascinating? Your book is a novel, right?
It's a romance novel, yes.
And I have clients who write nonfiction. And what you just described about gaining clarity, the synchronicities that happen as you're writing the book, blah, 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 all of that stuff happens when you're writing nonfiction or when you're writing fiction. It's like this incredible thing is happening as you're writing your book, which is you're processing your life on a deeper level. You're turning it into fiction for yourself. And as you do that, even when you're writing nonfiction, by the way, this happens. You're fictionalizing it, not in the sense of you're making stuff up, but you're fictionalizing it in the sense of you are writing it out and therefore emotionally detaching from those events. So the stories then live outside of you. They no longer are inside of you. They don't have to plague you. They don't have to weigh you down. You don't have to be imprisoned by them. The story is outside of you. And there's such relief with that because now you can extract all the teaching from it. You can get all of the juicy kind of, oh, and then this happened and this happened without breaking down and crying in the middle. It's like when I tell people my dad was an international con man and I moved, it was traumatic, you guys. It was traumatic, right? I wanted to kill myself when I was 12, but I have no emotional connection to it. So now it's just, ooh, that was cool. That's a cool story. People who don't know. But now the story in and of itself can be full for empowerment, for teaching, for connection, right? Someone can read this and feel seen because you felt seen, right? You should be writing your book. If you're not writing your book, what are you doing?
And it's a feeling. It's a way to
Feeling.
heal because you're getting it outside of you, especially if
Yeah.
you've been through any kind of trauma or childhood trauma. Because I was doing some reading on healing through writing. You are experiencing whatever that negative thing is through the lens of a 7-year-old, not through an adult lens. An adult can see all of that picture, analyze it from that perspective. And you're
Yeah.
giving yourself an opportunity to do that when you are writing a book and you've got a goal and you're working through those difficult things because the goal is to get all of this completed, it's a huge opportunity to be free and to help other people at the same time, because they may have had the same experience that you had. And this is the first time they've heard it. This is the first time where that inner heart needs to be freed, and that someone is speaking to it through their book. It's a huge opportunity to save other people, even though that may not be your intention, but
Yeah.
you put that out there when you get it on paper and get it out to the public.
What you just said, I want to reiterate. It's so good. Just in case, I do give everybody credit. Everybody's so smart who's watching this. You guys are so smart for being here. You really are. The processing of those events from multiple perspectives. So when you're writing a piece of fiction and you now have to flesh out that scene in a more objective way and be inside these characters who had wronged you or harmed you. And now you are processing that scene through the lens of their pain that created pain within you, right? That manifested itself into these actions that were painful for you. There's so much healing in that, because that is the process of forgiveness. Forgiveness, people think it's like, oh, what is forgiveness? Everybody says forgive. Nobody actually shows you or tells you how to do it. And everyone thinks, oh, forgiveness is you do something wrong to me, and then I rise above it and I say, I forgive you. That's not forgiveness. That creates more separation. I am seeing myself in a grander way than I see you, right? Forgiveness is not that. Forgiveness happens when you can see the situation with compassion, and you can see someone's pain. You can see the things that caused them to make the mistakes that they made. And you're able to see that in such a way that you have compassion for that person, even though they hurt you. And it's not to say it was okay for them to do it. It wasn't. But it is to say that they are human. They are human. They're lost. They're hurt. They did not in that moment have the ability to process and contain their pain within themselves. And they put that pain onto you. Doesn't make their action correct. You don't have to be in the presence of that person. Unconditional love is not unconditional permission, but it does free you, because as long as I am trapped in this cycle of unforgiveness and pain and blame, and that person's the monster and I'm the victim, I have no power. I literally have no power at all. When I see the humanity in them, I still can choose not to have a relationship with them. But when I see the mistake and the humanity and the pain in them, they're no longer a monster. And therefore, I am no longer a victim. I am powerful. We are equal in the sense that we are the power that creates worlds individualized in human form. Obviously, we're expressing ourselves in very different ways in this physical form. I acknowledge that they are infinite potential that has forgotten what it is. And beyond that, everything else that they go through is their responsibility and it's their journey. I don't have to be a part of it. I can just say, I'm better off just being over here and processing my own pain and creating forgiveness, and then letting them be on their own journey.
It gives you permission to heal as well. The pain comes, not the lack of forgiveness, and then it comes back and hurts you at the end of the day. You store it in your body, manifests in ugly ways. And that's why you want to go through this healing process. And writing can help you do that. It's like it's medicine. It's medicine. I've been writing all of my life, getting everything out onto paper. It is medicine. I have a pin collection. I'm not addicted to purses, shoes, but my God, pins. And it's like everyone in my family has the pin disease. We've got so many pins, but it's because I have to write.
Yeah. Do you write with fountain pens?
Ink pens, gel pens, fountain pens. Those are the nice pens, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a pen snob. It's funny when I go to a place and they want me to sign a form or something and they hand me like a cheap old ballpoint pen. I'm like, and so judgmental. I'm like, no. And I reach into my purse, take out my fountain pen. My fountain pens get beat up too, because it's like I'm dropping them and they get all banged up. And that's why, here's the thing, here's a tip for you. You gotta get nice fountain pens because you don't want them leaking. You don't want, and Pilot is my favorite
Oh my
brand.
gosh.
Pilot is my favorite. My Pilot fountain pens, those are my favorites because they are so reliable. They never break. I've dropped a couple of them on their nib and they broke, but don't do that. As long as you don't do that, you're fine.
I love Pilot.
I just ordered these couple of Ellington fountain pens, and I have to say, they're fine as long as you don't write with pilots. The pilots are so much worse. If it's your first fountain pen, you're gonna be like, ooh, it's so nice. But if you've written with a pilot before, you will be slightly disappointed. We will leave you with that. And we'll come back after the break with our final thoughts. All right, welcome back for our final segment. Drum roll. Positive prediction. So this is where we take something about what's happening in the world and then have a positive prediction about it. What's going to come out that is positive? And let's take a like an easy topic, Angelina, since you're here. U.S. politics. What is your positive prediction about what is happening in the U.S. politics right now?
Actually, I do have a positive prediction. I think it's already happening. I believe that during the election, after the election, there were many reports that the US is the most divided that we have ever been. I doubt that very seriously. Just go back a little further in history. It's far more divided. However, I do think now, more than ever, it is less divisive. I think people are maybe not in person agreeing, but emotionally and psychologically agreeing with what is happening and having a more similar opinion. Because at the end of the day, we all want to be safe. We all want to be able to have affordable groceries that, are healthy. We all want to have healthy families and good friendships, be able to earn a living, be able to retire, live to the best of our ability. I think we all fundamentally want the same things. And in a climate like this, what happens, you begin to look at yourself and your life even more. I think when people voted, it was out there. Oh, I believe in what those people should do, what should happen over here. And it wasn't personal. And I think what's happening now is making the change a lot more personal. How does this affect me? How does it impact me, positively or negatively? That makes it more real. The decisions you make in the future are going to be based on how will this make my life better or worse? And not just for me, but for my neighbors, my friends, my family, people that I care about. How is this going to impact them? And knowing that it will and it can impact them and not just be, 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, it's all the same. My life's always the same. I don't really care what happens. I think that has come to an end. And that is a positive thing. We all need to have a greater awareness of ourselves, our neighbors, our friends, our families, and how the world will be impacted, how we will all be impacted. And that is going to be the positive result of what is happening now. We're all going to be a lot more aware beyond just the price of eggs.
I love it. And my positive prediction for the US politics is that we are going to see, just like you mentioned, more personal responsibility and specifically all of the healers and light workers giving themselves permission to show up fully in their light. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is something that I am very excited to witness. And that's why we have at myauthorzacademy.com, we're building an army of light workers and healers. You can come and join, write your book. We have special pricing happening right now, which is going to go away very soon. So if you want to join now, lock yourself in, get your healing book written this year, and let's get it. Let's flood this world with healing books. I challenge you to write a book that heals the world. This is our mission. All right.
And she's the one who can help you do it. Take advantage of what she's offering while it is still at this price. It's a steal. I'm trying to convince her to change the price.
You spend an hour trying to get me this right.
The value she's offering is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. No one is going to give you what she is giving you in this program. All of the stages of this process, being able to market your book, speak on a stage, no one is going to give this to you at this price.
You're in this pay.
Ever.
Yeah.
And she's a pro.
There you go.
She's a published pro.
You heard it there.
I'm just saying, I'm going to sign up while it's...
Yeah, so join myauthorzacademy.com. You guys, we're on a mission to flood the world with healing books. That's what we're doing. And that's my positive prediction. And we will see you next week.
Bye. Thank you so much for having me.
So good to have you on here.
This has been Rants and Galavants with your host, Ellie Shoja. Each episode is a roller coaster of inspiration, starting with a fiery rant on life's biggest questions, followed by a deep dive into the woo realm, an exciting travel story, and an empowering nudge to claim your own narrative and write your own book.